first came upon the artwork of Robert Eibert on June 22, 2014, as my wife Nancy and I were driving around the countryside near Lake Skinny-Atlas during a vacation. The intensity of Robert's work took our breath away. In fact, it scared us, until we met his wife Betsy and eventually Robert himself. Nicer people you will never meet. Robert's sculptural installation is far from finished. It documents various crimes that he and his neighbors have endured over decades. Arson, the killing of animals, as well as drug dealing in farm country. This is not art for art's sake. Rather, Robert is staking out a notion of good and evil. But for someone like me, who has spent his adult life making and thinking about art and artists, all the aesthetic qualities of great art are manifest in what Robert is making. Nancy and I came back in September to see the progress of his art and to hear Robert explain his vision.
I grew up here. My son is fourth generation. My grandfather bought the place. It was originally a Revolutionary War grant, so the house is pretty old. I'm just trying to keep my 100 acres where the house is in the barn as organic as I can. So that's my trend of thinking. I went to school here and spent some time in the military.
Was farming a good life when you were doing it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So it's a wonderful life. You're outdoors. You're on your own. Today it's all about management and little aspects that are so important. Some of my friends are able to do that quite well.
Robert was also an emergency room nurse for 15 years and drove tractor trailers to make ends meet.
I've kind of graduated, retired.
To art.
Yeah, to art. I had no idea that art, there was so much to it. So, not that what I do, I don't really consider it art, but what I hear and see on the internet and see other people doing painting and sculpturing is fascinating to me. And it's not something that I can do, but I can throw a few pieces of metal together, and if people appreciate it, I'm happy.
I think it's a little more than that, Robert.
It's not easy to explain, but this whole thing is good and evil. I kind of think that when you're brought up, you run into bullies as kids, and you run into bullies as older kids, and you run into adult bullies, and you run into governments that act like bullies. Bullyism isn't just schools, it's in life. This is to bring that awareness out.
The painting on the propane tank, what does that represent?
That just represents more authority. Some of what we perceive to be people helping us are sometimes, detrimental.
These all have factual bases, correct?
Pretty much, yeah. Like the grain bin, I call it abstract, omnipresent, perpetrated demonism. So that's the theme. It's an evil theme, and then there's the good theme. These are the original beams in the barn from my fire in '76, and the original, all the stuff came out of the barn except the telephone pole.
Jeez.
The barn floor, part of the wall. To represent a fire that came from '82, so I had to go over in a hedgerow and dig it up.
Oh, these are actual pieces of the destroyed property from oh boy.
82.
Oh, okay. Animals have died on Robert's farm, both livestock and pets, in ways that defy common sense. Rocky was one of your first dogs?
He was a dog, One of the local vets treated him, and happened to get an insecticide in the middle of winter.
How did you conceive of an airplane built with those particular parts?
I don't know. It just comes to you, and it changes. If you don't hurry up and finish something, then something else will pop into your head.
Do you ever take them down and rework them?
Only this one that fell down. And the dove fell down, and so I had to redo that one.
Yeah, and so you added a hand and a beautiful olive branch.
Yeah, and I used small black walnuts for the olives, and it's supposed to represent God's hand and holding everything up. And as well the Christian flag, so there is hope.
And what has been the response of neighbors?
Well, I get a lot of people that stop, take pictures, and sometimes they walk up and they want a little bit of an explanation. I tend to give them a little explanation, but I leave it at evil, bullying, and a few good things that happen.
One of the pieces that is new since the last time I was here that I think is absolutely fantastic, you have that main figure. Are those arms? And he's holding a secondary figure?
It's just a series of serpents that equate to evil. I guess it's a culmination of bullying. You've got the supreme bully on the top. Hopefully it's not like a nuclear war or something along that nature. Certainly talks about individuals, even countries. So I'll just leave it there.
It looks like a hangman's noose. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think in the end the devil's going to hang himself. To me, what seems to be authority, if you see the flame out of the badge, we ourselves, give the devil the power, and eventually it's going to crash.
Many of Robert's sculptures are supported by tree trunks. I asked them what they were and how he got them here.
Locust pole, so they should last a long time. I cut them out of a hedgerow and just dragged them down here. I dug the holes by hand and set them in.
There's a look to your work. It's beautiful, but it's very rough. And you use a lot of materials that are rusted and falling apart. Does that have a particular meaning?
I guess destruction. I guess what God built, man seems to be pretty good at destroying. I'll leave it there. I spend a lot more time on the evil of things than on the goodness, because I think people notice. They notice this, and it's a little. If you look at it, it does look a little scary and evil, and that's the point.
I know I've been a sinner and wicked all my days, but when I'm old and feeble, I'll think upon my way.
Do you plan these before?
No, they actually develop, as I'm building them. So I try to think ahead, but it doesn't work too well. Things just pop into my head.
Do you do the sculptural parts first and then paint them?
Yeah, I'm not really a painter, so I toy between just leaving them blank and just adding a little color, a little more variation.
Robert told me what went into the making of another new piece.
Galvanized pipe, cut a hand out of it, and I used some more 3-inch pipe and cut up some broken rake teeth and an old junk propane cylinder that doesn't work anymore. This was a disc that I just chopped up and an old regulator that came out of a torch set. So just kind of like designed a match out of it.
Can you talk about your use of language?
Just to add a little spice and intrigue, I just put a little Japanese kanji in there.
Do they translate to anything?
Oh, sure.
Can you translate?
No, I don't really want to.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you could photograph it and check it out.
Another thing Robert does is to scramble the letters of his text.
The letters are there, and they're just mixed up, so you can figure it out.
On the side of this silo is the phrase, "Spontaneous combustion, my ass." And on this sculpture, which makes a figure out of a shovel and a pickaxe, are letters that could be rearranged to say, "Grave diggers."
You can call it the shearfish.
The shearfish. What is a shear bar?
The bar in the machine where the knives come against and cut the hay. Like you'd have a shear bar and a push lawnmower.
You're putting these saw blades against the trunks of trees. Is that to be like a spine of a serpent?
Sure, sure.
No, what are those?
Haybine cutter bars, and they got chainsaw teeth, chainsaw tongues, and discs. The discs are farm equipment.
And how do you cut the discs into?
Just with a torch. There's a fair amount of welding, yeah. Just spot welding.
Do we know that guy?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
As yet I am determined my youthful days to spend in sporting and in pleasure till I draw near my end.
Robert's installation is far from complete. I have a feeling he will be working on it for quite a while.
This isn't finished.
Okay.
But I'm gonna just have a nice flame here with some solar panel power and light it up.
And I intend to come back to see what he creates.
My way of thinking, I'm trying to send a message that this is a huge battle going on between good and evil.
So your art is not art for art's sake. Your art is art for a moral purpose.
I would think more.
Yeah. I think that's what makes it so gripping, that you can tell it has deep and profound meaning. It's not...
We're here for a reason, and we've only got one life. And I'm sure I've wasted a lot of my life. But as well, I think it's important to show people that it's very important to find the truth. And for me, it's Christ. And so I just want to show people.
Bye.